Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Today I will speak about dukkha. Dukkha usually is translated as a suffering, but there are more than that. The knowledge of a dukkha is a Buddha's knowledge. Now, the dukkha was already exists in us. Even the time before Buddha, there was a dukkha. But we as a human, we do not have much understanding about dukkha. We've been suffering with the many conditions, but we do not see as a dukkha. If we see those dukkha, as suffering, then we would not repeat those kind of dukkhas again. But we do not understand, therefore we keep on repeating the same dukkha again and again. So the dukkha is unsatisfying, the suffering, all this dukkha that there is in this world, it is because of our ignorance. It is because of ignoring the fact we are attached to those conditions, attached to those objects which are changeable. And when those objects, those conditions are changing, we are suffering. And there in this world, every conditions, they are changing rapidly. So there is nothing that we can hold on to it, or nothing we can say, this is mine. But we cannot deny that, and we think that this is mine, and we get attached to it, and the suffering is coming. Therefore, Lord Buddha say, Panchuspadana kanda dukkha, means clinging to five aggregate is a dukkha. The clinging, the five aggregate as it is not a dukkha, but clinging to this five aggregate is a dukkha. So now, the Lord Buddha, when he arose in this world 2600 years ago, he understood it very clearly. And he is not going to repeat those same suffering again. But when he sees that they are repeating those mistakes again and again, so out of compassion, he taught us the Dharma, that is the suffering, to end up the suffering. So he taught us the Dharma for 45 years, and the sutta, up till today, we've been learning this Dharma from the suttas. That is what we call Dharma, to end the suffering. So you see, the suffering is there with us all the time. No matter what pleasure we are seeking for, immediately after this pleasure, there is a suffering. For example, we like to listen to music. The music which is 5 minutes long, and when the 5 minutes is over, the song is over, we immediately jump to another song, and again another song. So here we understand it is unsatisfying. If we think that the song that I liked so much, I was delighting in it so much, then why did we shift to another one? It is because changing. The same thing, if it's repeating again and again, we do not delight. So sometimes when it is changing, we delight. But sometimes some things which changes rapidly, again we do not delight. So here we are not able to understand. So this mind is playing the game, always tricking us into the pleasure object, and when the mind is satisfied with that, it jumps to another one. And sometimes when it delights so much on that pleasure object and it changes, then it gets suffering. And this kind of a thing will repeat again and again if we do not practice Dhamma. When we practice a Dhamma, we understand the Buddha's teaching. And what is this Buddha's teaching? It's about Sila, Samadhi and Panya. So when we start keeping a sila, we avoid unnecessary action. And when we avoid those unnecessary action, our mind can become very calm and very relaxed. At that time we practice meditation, we can get into some concentration. And when we get some concentration, we can go to the insight meditation where our understanding can grow. And with that understanding, if we see this world, then we can understand that how the suffering is related with this world, related to with ourselves. At that time, we can stay away from those conditions which brings us suffering. But without this sila, samadhi and panya, it is impossible for us to understand Dhamma. And if we do not understand Dhamma, then we can never get rid of this suffering. So here we say the dukkha jnanam, buddha jnanam, dukkha samudaya jnanam, buddha jnanam. This is the Buddha's knowledge, the dukkha. So the dukkha, we have to understand what is this dukkha. We have to read the Dhamma, we have to study the Dhamma, we have to go to the monks to listen a Dhamma, then only we can grow in Dhamma, then we understand the suffering. For me, before I was a monk and I was suffering in these worldly conditions. Then when I understand that there is a suffering, I become a monk. And even after becoming a monk, there is still suffering that we have to face day after day. But it is much better than the worldly suffering. Here the suffering that the monks are going through is mainly because of hunger, which we cannot avoid. This is there, this hunger is there right from the birth. It is a sickness, and that is also a suffering. And we cannot deny that, and we cannot escape from it unless and until we are fully liberated, we are fully accomplished. We attain Nibbana, then only we can escape from this kind of a pain, this kind of suffering. So now when the monks are eating their meal, they are fully aware, they are contemplate day after day about the food they are consuming. Even though there is a suffering while eating the food, before eating there is a suffering, even after eating also there is a suffering. But it is much better than eating in a worldly ways. Because here we can put a lot of mindfulness while eating. And while eating with the mindfulness, we can understand every moment that there is a dukkha connected with every conditions, everything, every action that we are doing. So the monk, they understand the dukkha because they are studying the Dhamma, the teaching of a Buddha, very frequently. So even any lay disciple also wish to understand about the suffering, they have to also practice the Dhamma. And this suffering is not only related to a Buddhist or to any Buddhist monk, it is related to each individual. They are born in this world. So whoever are born, who are about to take a birth, they will all have to face the consequences of suffering. So here, the teaching of a Buddha is a suffering. His teachings are based mainly on the suffering and to escape from the suffering. So I wish everyone to look into the Buddha's teaching more deeply, get connect with the Dhamma more deeply, so that we can have more understanding about the dukkha and we can get rid out of dukkha. I wish all of you all the best. Keep practicing Dhamma. Thirwan Saranai.